Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show with your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino. How you doing, man?
Well, we are back.
We are back.
We
are back.
We took and went out west, as we promised, and we met some fans. How about that? Yeah. So we're going to do a show a little bit different today.
Yeah.
We're not going to do the interlude that we always do. We do thank you though for listening. Absolutely.
Absolutely, and keep listening. Keep telling your friends.
Yes. And we had some people come up to us that recognized our shirts. Yes, we had shirts on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had beautiful embroidered Amps and Axes Show shirts.
Yes, and I can't thank you enough, my friend. That was very nice of you.
Oh, you're welcome, man.
That really helped us, actually. It was easy to go up to people when they see, a real logo,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Before you even hand them a card, they're,
Yeah, they were reading our shirt.
Yeah, it proves you're not an alien or something like that.
That is true. But we wanted to talk about NAMM.
Yes, we'll do a little kind of little review of it.
Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want it to be. It was funny, and I'm going to name drop because guess what? I never get to name drop, so now we're going to name drop.
Well, there you go.
We got to hang out with our good buds, Michael Sterto and Rob Mount from Lou Graham's band.
Lou Graham's, yeah.
That's right.
That was fun.
Rob is the drummer. Michael, if you haven't listened to his episode, he's the guitar player for Lou.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I don't know if I'm getting the NAMMonia myself.
I brought it back with me.
Yeah, it's great. So we got to sit there and we got to chat with him, and it was funny because we were kind of ranting and raving about some of the things that we saw that there's some things, and we'll cover it. But, it was funny because Michael said, you should do a rant show, a NAMM rant show.
And we're not going to totally turn it into that.
No. We don't want to get into those kinds of things. But there is a couple.
There were a couple of triggers.
There was a couple triggers, yes. And in no particular order. And we're guitar players, but we're also musicians and just people. And we know there's this human factor that I think has gone away with some people in our society these days. And, one thing that we want to tell all the guys that get it, that come into a booth and grab a guitar and they plug into an amp, and you're not going to get signed at NAMM. It isn't like the road manager of we can use any band, insert the name of the band here, is going to be walking through NAMM, see you doing sweep arpeggios for an hour and a half and go, you're the next guy that's going to be in the band. It just doesn't work that way, people.
No, I mean, if you want to check out a guitar or an amp, ask permission, check it out, do what you got to do. Don't play for 30 minutes. Don't try to look over your shoulder to see who's looking. You're there to check it out for you, nobody else.
Yeah.
Check it out, and you're done.
It's not your local music store where you can go in and camp out all day.
Right. And they definitely don't want that because everybody doing that everywhere just significantly raises the noise level because there's no stopping.
Oh, my God. It is unbelievable what's in the noise level that's in there. And speaking of noise level,
Yeah.
Let's go over to our buds, the drummers. Okay. What
I had
we
fun
witnessed,
walking through that
literally
hall once or twice.
Jeff,
After that, it's
you know the movie Behind Enemy Lines with what's his name, Owen Wilson, where he's a pilot, gets shot down in like Syria.
Okay,
it's a great movie. There's this one scene where he hits a tripwire in this minefield like type thing, and as he's running, the explosions are just going side to side, as he goes through this thing, and he escapes it without getting killed, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it was like walking through the drum section. It was like shrapnel was just flying on each side of us, and we were like, can we survive? And it was noise shrapnel.
It was, a little percussively noisy, shall we say. And there's of course there's the cymbals too.
Yes. And here's the thing. Okay. When you hit a cymbal, you don't have to hit it 138 times to tell if this is a cymbal you're going to like. You may ping it once or twice. You hear the difference between two of them, and then you move on. Now, we know that there was probably guys purposely doing it, which they should be taken out back and beaten with a cymbal or a stick in either progression,
right?
Because it adds to the overall noise. I think some of the stuff that, some of the meaning of what that is supposed to be about gets lost in the ether when you got three of your buds that got the passes through the local music store because you're the hot guitar player, the drummer, or whatever, and then you think it's a playground to just go and disrupt the entire world. It's not designed for that. It's designed for people to try to sell their products to people that are going to buy their products.
Right.
Not you just bashing a cymbal or a drum for 20 minutes because you have a stick in your hand.
You could go check something out for a little bit. There's a reasonable amount of time that we all expect people to explore different pieces of gear.
Absolutely.
That's why you're there, and then you can go to your store who's purchasing the newest and biggest and best and buy from them, if you're lucky enough to get into the show. But
and our good buddy
just a
Rob
lot of abuse.
He was like, I never heard anything like that before in my life. He was like, witnessing guys just bashing cymbals for minutes on end. And it was like, and he goes, I wouldn't even like sit down at a drum set and start playing. He goes, but there was guys in there playing. And I said, yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
And it's not somebody that's brought in to demo the product either, because, any of those booths at any time you saw it, there's three people sitting down at three full kits, all playing at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It gets a little noisy.
And not even close to the same beat.
Right.
Like your brain goes in sensory overload.
Well, then they'd just be copying the other guy. They're
of course,
better
right?
than the other guys.
Yeah. Same thing with guitar players. You are not exempt. You guys need to get schooled a little bit. And I blame some of these music store owners, from the chain stores that just let you come in and touch all the instruments and you sit there for hours on end. I would throw you guys out of the store in a heartbeat if you didn't have cash in your pocket. That's just my rant towards that, because you're not going to do anything that's going to impress Steve Morse when he's walking through the place. Steve Morse has heard it all. You know what I mean? Albert Lee doesn't need you to demo how a guitar is being played. Albert Lee has played all the notes.
And again, go play for a few minutes, pick it up.
Exactly.
Look, there are many, many electric guitars there that you can play without plugging in. You don't really have to make noise at first.
Yes.
You can find out if the guitar feels good, if it plays well, if you like the way it looks, go find out something about it. If you need to plug it in for a little bit. That's great. But the one thing, we discussed this, and then we should move on a little bit. But the one thing that, we saw, I'm just going to chalk it up to lack of manners.
I'm going to say it's called narcissist. And here's the thing. I want everybody to know, me and you have not had this discussion prior to this thing being recorded, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Our good buddy Bruce Egnator. brought it up.
You walk into a booth, you pick up a guitar that's on a stand on the demo stage, the demo area, if it's a stage, whatever. You pick it up, you strap it on, you look to see that, the company's logo is over your shoulder, and then you have somebody take a picture of you because you're playing in that booth. No, you're not. Just stop.
That is the ultimate form of narcissism.
Nobody has permission. They just walk up onto a stage, pick this up, look for the logo, take my picture.
If you did that at a club, that would be called a good old-fashioned ass-kicking that you would get if you touched a guy's guitar.
Yeah, walk up on stage and pick up somebody's guitar. Yeah. Just walk up on stage and pick up somebody's guitar.
Let's do that on a Saturday night and see what that gets you. I have never seen anything like that before in my life prior to this. And I tell you what, it's a little unnerving to see that because it's not yours and it's not your domain. And for people to do that is beyond me, man. I mean, we were like, what the hell was that?
The guitar could be the guy that's demoing in the booth could be his personal guitar.
Yeah.
Could be a very expensive guitar by the manufacturer in the booth. It's, you don't know, so don't touch.
Exactly. So whoever that is, cut it out. And I guarantee you, here's what's going to happen. We're going to go to more of these NAMM shows, and if I see it, I'm going to have to approach you because that's enough of that crap. Okay, your selfie and your little Instagram, nobody cares. Not one person.
Just a little respect. Just a little respect.
So, moving on. One of the concerns that we both had, and we would discuss this, was we're a little concerned. Not a little concerned. We're a lot concerned with the lack of younger guitarists or musicians. And we started doing the math, and I think we're actually starting to see the correlation to music programs being removed from schools and this lack of musicians that we're seeing coming through.
Schools are probably for a good percentage the first time that they would ever had the opportunity to be exposed to a musical instrument.
Yeah.
Because if you don't play, you're not going to walk in, or a brother, cousin, whatever. You're not going to walk into a music store and pick up a guitar and try to play your first chords. That's not going to happen. It shouldn't happen. It's embarrassing to the person that's doing it.
Sure.
Although, if you want to play, absolutely play.
Yeah.
But I would like to see music, classes come back in a huge way, whatever it is, whether it's in school, whether it's extracurricular, whether it's somehow we got to figure this out, because you and I heard more than once, not enough people are playing guitar anymore.
Yeah, which I guess we could segue into, we know that one of the big companies that wasn't there was Gibson.
Didn't even show,
Didn't even show. That company, we heard lots of rumors, and it sounds like, that they're hurting really bad. And the reality is, or what could possibly be the reality, unless somebody picks that company up and buys the name, there's a strong possibility that they could be closing the doors of that place in the near future.
It's possible.
And, is it a lack of musicians, or is it possibly bad decisions done at Gibson? It could be a combination.
I think it's both.
I think it's absolutely a combination. And what we were seeing was, and this was part of our discussion on the plane home, is that the Korean lines now are the top. They're the top lines. They're the majority of what we're seeing.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
Yeah, and we did. If you go on our YouTube page, you can actually see. We have a video up there of Schecter's new stuff, because they were not open to the public. It was only dealer only by appointment. And we got to go in there and show the product line. And, these are not crappy made guitars. These were very nice guitars, and with a lot of really good hardware. And it's amazing that they're able to do it at the price point that they're doing it.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, the way it's feeling, that's the majority of sales for most companies that are attempting to survive in this industry. It's, I loved the Heritage stuff that we saw, the Les Pauls types and the 335 types.
Yeah.
All those are still handmade in
Kalamazoo.
In Kalamazoo.
Yep.
Really nice, beautiful instruments.
Yes.
What was it? 25 or 26 for the Les Paul, something like that.
Was it that much? Yeah, it was somewhere in that neighborhood.
It was,
but it was solid. No relief cuts. Made exactly the way it was made.
Right.
Back in the day.
I mean, the only thing different is the headstock.
By the guys that make it.
Right. By the guys that used to make it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other company that we saw there, USA, and it has to be because of direct sales, was our good buddy Jeff Kiesel.
Right.
That booth was not shy of anybody. I mean, he had a lot of people in there, and I got to meet Mr. Buck Dharma.
There you go.
Who promptly handed a card to.
Of course.
Because we would love to interview him. And I brought up a concert, and he actually remembered it. And this was a concert that happened in 1982 or something like that. Yeah. And he said, "Oh, I remember that concert." And I was like, wow. Like, that's impressive. And I think maybe it struck a nerve. So hopefully he'll contact us, and we can have him on the show. But, Jeff said things are going good. So to hear that from him is great news. Because that's it's a USA company. They don't have any kind of Korean lines. They don't have any offshore or anything. And the direct sales thing must be still okay. Because you're getting a USA made guitar for like $1,100 on their lower ends, and it's still a nice guitar. It's not it isn't like they make them cheaper per se. They just it's solid colors, things like that.
Right.
Not all the fancy tops and stuff, but still.
They have found a market. They have found their niche in what they do.
And I think it was probably a good decision for them breaking away from the Carvin name and the Pro Audio side, because as you know, that company dissolved, and he is now primarily a guitar builder, and it looks like it's really worked for them. Reinventing that company, I think, is the thing that probably saved them in a time when it's really slim pickings. I mean, it's starting to become that way.
Yeah, for
sure. It's not to denounce the Korean stuff. That stuff is made very high quality. The Japanese stuff is made very high quality. But the lack of musicians is the alarming piece.
Yeah.
Look, there's generations of people that still play guitar, but as we get older, we need that new crop of guys to come in, and that's the piece that we're alarmed by, because it's just not the numbers that probably were around when we were doing it.
Right.
Right. And
so, it's going to be what it's going to be, and hopefully something or somebody will come along and just spark this again.
Yeah, and I think with all the listeners that we have, if you've got kids or whatever, hey man, go to your local Board of Education and kind of say to them, hey, where's the music program?
Where's the music? Right. Where's the music?
And and they're going to tell you some BS story, and you just throw it back at them and say, no, there's no need. We don't need all programmers coming out of schools. And
right.
It doesn't have to be all college education. Let some art shine through, because that is a key component of life.
I mean, we're losing music and trades.
Yeah,
and people are finally picking up on the trades parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, if we could just convince them that the music is equally as important to a kid's mind.
100%. And here's the thing. If you don't like what you're hearing on the radio, then we need more musicians. Because, there's a handful of guys that are just generating crap. And I say crap because, well, it is crap. It's regurgitated electronic, made by a computer and, a handful of guys. And it's, and thank God for some of the singers that don't have that, but there isn't enough of that. We need more real musicians.
Right.
And
so,
we'll stop right there with that.
Yeah, we're going to stop right there. Let's just touch on a couple of products maybe.
Yes. The 80,000 pound or the 80,000 euro guitar that you touched.
Oh, that one. Oops. I didn't know.
This was a great story. And it's not your fault. You had no idea. It was very loud. You were trying to hear the guy. He had a very broken English accent. I don't even know the name of the company. I totally spaced on the company name.
Either. It was the media evening where they were showing some high-end and unusual stuff, or just some stuff in general that you could see before the show started on Thursday. Yeah. So there was this guitar, beautiful guitar, made out of was it amber?
Yes.
It was made out of amber, backlit, looked beautiful. I'm talking to the guy, and I thought he said that the guitar, like the amber, was 80,000 years old.
Yeah.
I went, wow, that's nice. And I picked the guitar up to see how heavy it was. The white gloves came out of the pockets. I immediately put it down. Don't touch that.
Yeah.
The amber was what, 1.5 million years old or something like that?
50 million from what he said.
50 million years old.
Yeah, it was petrified.
When I thought he said 80,000 years old for the amber, he was telling me the guitar was 80,000 euro.
About $91,000.
Yeah. So, the white gloves came out.
Yeah.
And I quickly backed away.
Now here's
crazy.
Here's how, I am, because I'm so, I don't know, I'm a jerk sometimes. I go, wow, look at that. There's a $91,000 guitar with a $12 switch on it and a $3 output. And
well, they don't make
exactly
$80,000 switches.
I know, but it was like,
the guitar was art.
It was a piece of art, and
nobody's ever going to play it, but it was a beautiful piece of art.
And quite frankly, they may eat that thing for 80 grand or 91 grand. Yeah. But hey, look, they did it, and more power to them. It was the biggest piece of amber you probably will ever see in your life.
Yeah,
because it was
one
piece.
Entire body. The entire body was one piece of amber.
Exactly, and that was interesting. And part of the reason why we couldn't hear them, and this was another concern of mine, and I know that how do I say this? And I'm not trying to offend anyone, because I am one that uses this too, but we got a ton of virtualization going on here, kids. And they have now taken it to a level that is disturbing, where you're just playing the air.
Yeah, there's a strap on each foot and a stick in each hand.
Yep.
And you're playing, and it's sounding like a drum kit.
Yeah, or you got an EDM guy.
Oh yeah.
That was the guy that we heard that night, and he had a VR mask on. Look, okay, I understand you want to do modeling for guitars, because you need to record at 12 midnight. I understand that you gotta, that you can't afford a $10,000 NAMM, so you use a virtualization plugin to change your $200 microphone into a NAMM. I understand those things, because when you're trying to make your own record and you're on the cheap, that's okay. But I will not accept somebody just playing in the air because you want to have a drum set and you can't make any noise at midnight. It's called electronic drums, and they've gotten them pretty damn good. And there's a company called Roland and D-Drum that have kind of done this shit correctly. And it still requires you to hit a goddamn something with a stick.
Totally.
And I'm not buying it. And you know what? I will fight that one until the last breath, because it's horse shit. in a lack of a better term, that's exactly what it is. And those guys need to go away. You know what I mean? It's not. Not a game.
That's one thing, and that's I just don't like that. But speaking of virtual, Where did we wind up first day we walked in? First place. Who did we see?
We saw our good buddy Drew Mazurek with Universal Audio.
Yes, he was there demoing some stuff and pointed us over to the guitar end of things.
Yeah, that thing was cool.
Yeah.
Because you were playing through your own amp.
Yeah, they have this new load box. Well, part of it is a load box, and part of it is some sort of technology that's slightly different, according to them, than modeling or virtual, whatever. And I didn't particularly too much care for the attenuation steps. Like once you got past like 3 dB, I've heard better boxes.
Yeah.
And they were just using it in a deluxe reverb combo. So between the amp and the speaker.
Yeah.
But the main object of this device is to record your amp directly into your DAW or whatever when the attenuator is turned all the way off if you want to. And what I expected, like every time they step down in the attenuator, I'm thinking, that sound could be better. That sound could be better. And I thought by the time they got all the way to zero, to full attenuation, that whatever sound that they were sampling on the inside was going to be like the least best sounding of those settings. And it wasn't. The device was pretty remarkable. You could get it to sound just like the deluxe, but it had all sorts of cabinets, microphones, everything that you could, if you normally were in a studio, and it's not the first time that this has been done. It's been done for years now. You could play your amp through a different virtual cabinet with a different virtual microphone. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
But this was, as far as I'm concerned, the best I've heard so far.
And we're going to have the gentleman who came up with this thing on the air. We talked to him for a good bit the night that we got, the day we got it demoed. And he agreed that he would come on and chat and get into the nuts and bolts of how he spent countless hours developing this thing.
Well, he spent countless hours sampling cabinets and speakers and microphones and placement. And all and I mean, a lot of people would know this name from the industry. It was James Santiago, and he was the one that was, okay, this cabinet sounds better than all the rest. Let's model this one. This microphone sounds better than all the rest. Let's model this one. And they spent quite a while developing it.
I think
I don't want to spend any more time on it because, probably something like that.
It was ridiculous amount of
but
time.
I don't want to dwell on it because it still is virtual, but it is the best virtual that I've heard to this point. So good on you.
And you're still playing through a real amplifier.
Right.
And
absolutely.
So if you crank it, and they demoed that part where, through the deluxe, if you just pegged it, you got all that cool distortion that you can get when you peg one of them, and it was literally silent. It was coming through the virtualization part, and then he was changing cabinets and everything, and then the microphones, and it was
pumping them through the monitor speakers.
Yeah, and it was that was the neat part, because I was like, wow, you're changing the sound of this amp just by changing the cabinets like you would if you were in the studio. And, of course, you could plug in headphones. You'd never hear anything,
Right.
But there was still a tube amp pumping on the front end of this thing, so you were still getting a lot of that dynamic that,
that you get from a real amp.
Get from a real amp, yeah. It wasn't like you had to take a tube screamer and throw it at the front of your Fractal, because that's the trick. It's not, you can't just plug straight into those. You got to kind of do something before it to give it a little life. And then once you do that, then it really takes on its own, So it was neat.
There you go.
Very cool product. Universal Audio is, everybody knows they're one of the top guys out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got to see a new company that you were interested in, Slate. And they had some crazy stuff where they were giving you virtual microphones. That was the one company that I was like, and they did it live, and it was like, whoa. I mean, it was
they have two different mics. They have a small diaphragm and a large diaphragm mic.
Yeah.
And between those two mics, they have sampled pretty much every microphone you could want in the studio, and quite a good job too.
Yeah,
so that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
That's when those kinds of things I understand, and I'm like, that's cool, because some of those high end condenser mics in studios are out of everybody's price range. And it wasn't like, hey, Bob down the street has one of these condensers. No. You had to go to a big time studio that had, that was getting big bands in there and paying huge money, and they would have the $10,000 Newman, And that was the only way you were getting able to use it, but you were paying $130 an hour for the studio, So now you kind of got this world that we could never obtain before. And that's a cool thing, because if you're doing it in your bedroom, like I said, then that's a thing that can help you. You make a better product.
And the point here is that's an actual microphone in front of an actual speaker moving air.
Yeah.
And you could just, get any microphone you wanted on that cabinet virtually. And they did a really good job on that one too. So yeah, good on you, Slate.
Yes.
Harmony guitars are back.
Yeah, they've got some backing, and they're going to be it was pretty impressive. They're making these things, and they are not crap guitars. Our good buddy Bart Walker actually did a demonstration, and he said they're right up there with every other manufacturer now. So I guess they're making a big play at coming out with higher end gear.
Yeah, and they did it. They brought a couple amps to the show. They got like a 30-watt new design, and they've got like a 5-watt old 40s reproduction
what
of
was that tube? Do you remember what the tube was?
It's just a 6SN7. It was nothing,
nothing big.
No magic tube, please. They're going to make them till they run out of tubes. They're not going to run out of tubes. So sorry. So, yeah, that's cool. And that's the same booth we saw the Heritage guitars in, which I really dug.
Yep. Yeah.
The high watt.
Oh, yes. Well, as we have to call it, max watt.
Yes, true. Max watt in this country.
Yeah.
High watt in every other country.
Exactly. And, that little corner there, because your good buddy, Mr. Fryette, was over there too, right? With Sound City. Sound City
and Fryette, yeah.
Yeah. And our good buddy Mitch Colby was, of course, with Max Watt.
Yeah.
And my God, what just the coolest things ever.
They're pretty cool.
And God Almighty, they got a 400-watt bass head, all tube.
400-watt all tube bass head. Yep.
Yeah.
And bringing back the big boys.
Yeah, that will peel the paint off your house.
810 cabinet and 400 watts with I think it's 8 KT88s or something like that. Yeah,
something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was very.
Well, go ahead.
No, the little 30-watt Iomi, the Laney.
Yes, that was what I was going to touch, but I want to go back to Max Watt.
Okay.
They're now making a crazy heavy metal amp, high gain.
Yeah, real high gain thing.
Yeah, and Dino.
Solid state amp.
Yes, and Dino. From Fear Factory. God, I forgot his name already. He may come on the show.
Okay.
And I'll have to look up his last name. I always get it wrong. Is it Cavalera? No, it's anyway. I apologize, but right. Dino, I know him by Dino. He may come on the show, but he was in there demoing that thing, man. And let me tell you,
brutalizing it.
Yes, and they had a room closed off, and man, that thing was a woofing like nobody's business. So they're getting in the high gain business, but they got all their stuff, and of course it's those guys, and they're no slouches, and they know what they're doing over there. But right. The Laney guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was pretty cool.
So here was the story behind it. They made 50 100-watt heads, and I think 6 of them or 7 of them, I can't remember what the number was, went to Tony Iommi. They were the original heads that he used back in the day to develop that Black Sabbath sound.
Right.
So they reproduced it, and they...
He ordered 10 of them for the farewell tour.
Yes. Is that what it was, 10?
Yeah.
Okay. And then 40 of them, they went the day that they put them out there all 40 went, gone immediately.
Of course.
And if you got to see the farewell tour, it was Iommi's sound. It was not like any other tour because he was using crazy high gain stuff from them. He's always been a Laney user, but this tour, it sounded.
He wanted to go back to his roots.
Yeah, it sounded just like the real deal. I mean, it was the real deal.
Right.
So they said, they got such response from it. They said, we're going to make a 30-watt version, but it's not the same amp. So what they did is they made a pedal, the Tony Iommi pedal. And they said, you stick this pedal in front of this amp with the offset 212 underneath of it, which, God, that looked really good.
Yeah, it was a pretty little stack there. Yeah. That was cool.
They said, you can dial in Mr. Iommi's sound. Of course, you need his hands.
Right.
But that's probably going to be the closest you can get to what he's got going on, unless you own one of those original 100. But they said those 100-watters were ridiculous volume.
Yeah.
And so they made it a more manageable 30-watt, smaller head. It's actually, the whole thing is a little bit smaller. If you check out our Instagram, I actually posted the picture. And cool. It's a cool little setup and very affordable, and they're going to mass produce it. It's not going to be a limited run. So you guys you can look forward to that coming out.
Absolutely.
I think, would they say 800 pounds for the head and 600 pounds for the cabinet? And then it was a 149 US on the street for the pedal. So cool stuff coming out of Laney. That was
Definitely.
On a little turnstile they had there.
Right.
And, it was neat seeing some of the artists. We got to see Steve Morse, Albert Lee, Sterling Ball, and Hunter Hayes at just go nuts on the Ernie
He was
Ball
holding
stage.
His own with everybody else, man. That was really cool.
Yeah, and it was a very cool thing. You can check that out on our Insta page too, because I recorded about 40 seconds of that. And just the history alone on that stage was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was a cool deal, and it was really nice to actually get face to face with some of our old guests that we have never met in person.
Right.
And got to say
Carl
hi to
Verheyen.
him.
We met him at the
Yes.
same booth. I
I
had known Carl from before, but
yeah, and we're actually going to have him back on. He's going to come back on the show. But I got to shake Tony McAlpine's hand and Chris Broderick.
There you go.
And I got to give, Mr. Chris Poland our card and explain to him and apologize for killing him off. And he said he would check us out, and hopefully he'll come on the show, and I can apologize to him some more.
There you go.
But we walked. I figured it all up, Jeff. We walked somewhere close to 37 miles, and we barely left the building.
Totally, I believe it.
Yeah, we had been moving, and we never really sat down any day except for to eat lunch or dinner. One of the two. Was it lunch or dinner, or was it dinner? I don't know. But we had a blast. We had
saw some of our female guests.
Yes,
wandering around.
Yep, we got to see Nita Strauss. We got to see Gretchen.
Yep.
Let's see. Nita got we can talk a little bit about Nita. God bless her. She stood. We didn't see her move from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. At the Ibanez
booth.
Yeah,
with
because
her signature guitar.
She has a signature guitar now, so you guys should check it out. It's a really nice looking guitar. And just trying to go through my head and see what else.
A little Irish.
Yes, and what I wanted to say to everybody is we're going to do something different. We're going to have a couple drummers on. And, we decided that, we need to branch out a little bit, and there's some really excellent drummers out there that I think we need to kind of bring into the fold and embrace the drum world a little bit, because it all matters, and we got some good ones coming up, so I'm not going to spoil that, but
Yeah, we have a huge list that we compiled from the show. It's a very big list. Hey, how about that Doug's pedal at Tech 21.
Pinnacle. Yes.
Yeah.
Pinnacle. Yeah. Let me tell you, they've worked extensively with him on. They got an amp and a cabinet arrangement that he has, and now they have a pedal. And let me tell you, when you turn that thing on, it is like, whoa.
It's King's X.
It is King's X to a T, but it is a beast of a pedal because they demoed the amp, which was just kind of flat. Wouldn't you agree?
It was very lackluster.
It was just kind of flat, and I think they did that on purpose. And when you hit that pedal, it was like, whoa, that thing just jumped to life. So we're going to have
bass players. If you want to sound like King's X, Doug from King's X, there you go. It's out there now.
And we're going to have we're going to talk to somebody from Tech 21, and they're going to go through the history of the company. Yeah.
Yes. There's a big list that we have lined up for you. Yeah.
If I tried to rack my brain, we could go through it, but it would just go on forever.
Right.
So overall, though, a very nice show. And we did not get to see everybody we wanted to, man. That's how heavy it was. The one person, and we talked extensively for a good 10 minutes or so. He was in the middle of a meeting, and his guy interrupted. You were not there, but I got to meet Evan Rubinson. And
from Dean.
Yes, and I, gave our condolences about his dad, Elliot.
Yeah.
And he said he wants, I said, would you come on? We can talk about whatever you want. If you want to talk strictly about your dad, then, that's it. And he said, absolutely.
And they're also doing the old original, 77, 78 Deans.
Yeah.
I just saw an ad for those. They're putting those out now. So
yeah, and let me tell you, they they have a couple companies because it wasn't just Dean. They own D-Drum and there was a couple other ones there too, and I forget the names, but they just rocking it, like a lot of Korean stuff, but man, high quality. And you're probably going to be okay when the guy hands you his card. And he dug in and he got one of his cards and he said, you contact me. And I was like, oh, you guarantee it. So we're going to definitely have Evan on, and he can come on and just talk, anything he wants to talk about, and just an awesome guy. And I wish that was one of those moments where I was like, oh God, I wish Jeff was here, but we were trying to command and conquer by splitting up a couple times. And I think you were talking to our friends at Reverb. And I was like, well, I got to go up there. And
I was talking to them about setting a video review up for the new East Wah pedal that's coming out soon.
Which, by the way, I got to see the prototype.
For that. The chassis, yeah. The chassis prototype was there by Chassis guys. So, yeah, it's going to be really cool.
And we got to talk about, God, we got to hang with this guy one day, is Mr. Dean Birdsong.
Because we've had Dean on.
We've had him on. No, I'm saying we got to hang with him for an evening.
I've done that.
Greatest guy.
I've done that at amp shows.
I just the coolest dude, the most laid back. He's got the greatest employees, and I was like, he had me in hysterics, and it wasn't like he was saying stuff that was funny. He's just a great guy. Yeah. And I wish the whole world was had that laid back attitude like he does, man. It would knock my A personality down a little bit.
He is totally chill. And I before we go, I want to give a shout out to somebody that we should have had on already, and I've known him for decades, and we're definitely going to have him on because he's got a pretty long history in this business too. Bruce Egnator.
Oh, what an awesome dude.
Yeah.
Just absolutely. And just the salt of the earth. Everybody, here's the thing. You have the guys that perform, and most of them are not jerks. Most of the guys all of the guys we've had, nobody's been a real jerk. Meeting them, you're not disappointed. That was the cool part. They didn't, I'll give you an example. When I finally went up to Tony McAlpine and Chris, they were like, oh, yeah, man, we remember being on your show. And I'm like, there's my partner, Jeff, over there. And I think you were trying to get your flight reservations at that time. But it was like they totally remembered, you know, and they were like, hey, man, we'll come back on, you know, and that was so cool because it could have been, you never know, it could be disastrous, right? But it's always been that way. But let me tell you, the guys that you know that are in that business that you do, boy, is that a whole nother level of just awesome people. Yeah. I mean, you know, these guys are the guys that are in the trenches and they're just doing it because they love it and they're trying to keep their business alive, you know.
100%.
And just Mitch Colby. Oh my God. You know, I was fortunate enough to go to dinner with you guys, and he just had story after story, and I was like, why aren't we rolling tape?
Now Mitch is a sweetheart of a guy, man. I've known him forever too.
God.
You know, and we got to hang with a couple of other guests for dinner too. Nikki Morrock and Doug Worthington.
Yeah.
You know, we were having a good old time out there.
Oh my God. And you know, just cracking up. Oh my God. If we'd have been rolling tape on that, I would have had to edit 9 miles of that. So
yes, you would have. Yes, you would have.
You know, I'm just that's where I thank you, my friend, because to have that blessing to be able to sit down with those guys, that would not happen. Even if I would have interviewed them and not, you know, because of the level of respect that they have for you, it's you know, that is a very cool thing. And to see it is just amazing too, you know.
Well, I mean, above all, they're people and they're friends.
Yes.
And, you know, we try to make that happen whenever possible.
And speaking, our last piece, and then we'll let you go. We are in the process of shooting a documentary. And it's about our good buddy, Phil Oliveri, and his whole building of, you know, his venture through life to get to where he is now. And, of course, you know, you can't say anything bad about Phil because he, you know, it's open arms.
I mean, if you don't know who it is, he's the guy behind Solo Dallas.
Solo Dallas, yes. And he's like, he grabs you and he's holding on.
That's it. You're getting hugged.
You're getting a hug, and I even got a kiss.
There you go.
And I was like, you know, he's just an awesome guy. And our good buddy John Holt, and we filmed him all weekend and lugged around about 40 pounds worth of gear. Yep. Which was insane because he was always,
thank you, John.
You know, John is a great guy, and he's going to be our, you know, he's the producer of this thing and the filmographer and the whole bit. And we're hoping to have this out by summer, which I'm thinking if we get everything done right, it should be out by summer. We will keep you posted on that.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be, you know, about his life and about the product and about his quest to break this code, which he pretty much did. And we'll have to share that with everybody, and, you know,
for sure,
all that good stuff.
There you go. And
go ahead.
There you have the story.
Yes. So until next time, my friend.
That's right. It won't be another NAMM thing because we've exhausted that, but we have insane amount of guests lined up for you.
Yeah, so it started pouring in
today. Stay tuned. Yep.
I'm Mick Marcelino.
That's right, you are, and I don't remember who the hell I am because I brought back some NAMMitis with me. Oh yeah, Jeff Bober. That's it.
And we're always saying
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @AmpsandAxes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.